Hello, welcome to Record Time. Record Time is a weekly Akashic experience where we explore simple and mysterious themes through the lens of the Akashic Records. My name is Mina, and I'm happy to be here with you. Today I'm excited to see what the records have for us today. It seems like it's going to be a fun one, so let's dive in. So, the keepers of the records are asking us, and this is they're asking us like pretty lightheartedly, with like a lot of curiosity and like casualness. They're asking us, is personal development one of your hobbies? And if so, what are your other hobbies? And I'm like so tickled by this because it's almost like, yeah, they kind of want to just get to know us. It's just such a casual question. But there's a lot of richness in this question. So, yeah, the first thing they ask, this is actually like a pretty interesting one to consider, to like pause and consider and think about it. If personal growth, self-help, self-improvement, all of that, like personal development, whatever, healing, I refrain usually from using that word, but maybe that, it's in this kind of like wheelhouse. If that's something that you devote a lot of time and energy to, this is kind of an interesting way to consider that, right? It's like you're spending a lot of time, perhaps, and maybe this doesn't apply to you. This certainly doesn't apply to everyone. But if you do notice, this is something, if you're watching this video for fun, you can ask yourself, is personal growth a hobby? And that's kind of like it's a fun, kind of funny, kind of playful way to think about it. It's like, oh yeah, maybe this question can serve to illuminate like, oh yeah, I do spend a lot of my energy and time kind of like looking into this stuff. And there's so much beauty in that. That's so lovely. And there's more to this too. So it's like one way to consider it. This is not a judgment. The records definitely are. It's not like it's almost like, I don't know how that would be kind of taken as a judgment of any kind, but yeah, they're kind of like just noticing that, like, oh, that's a fun, like, is this fun for you? Do you get something out of it? Is it something that you devote a lot of time and energy to? And then they go on to ask us, right, if this is, playfully, very loosely, one of your hobbies, so to speak, what are your other hobbies? And they're inviting us into this question almost as a way of, there's like an openness there, there's an expansion there of, okay, yeah, perhaps this is one of your hobbies, perhaps this is something you devote a lot of, and maybe if you don't want to consider it a hobby, but it is something you spend a lot of time doing, thinking about, it's in your awareness a lot, like what you're working on, what you're healing, what you're processing, like, right, there's all this stuff. And it can be pretty time consuming and energy consuming. So if you tend to spend a lot of time thinking about these things, they're then kind of directing us, inviting us into a different direction, which is, what are your other hobbies? And the reason they're asking us this is when we spend a lot of time, right, it's almost like the world of self-help, the world of, personal development, growth, healing, evolution, whatever, it can be like kind of, you can like really like dive really deep into it. Like it can start, innocent. Maybe you see a little thing, maybe you journal a little bit, and then it like kind of blooms and like deepens into this like really rich thing that it's like, oh, this is like, you have a daily practice and you have like people that you work with, and like, the way you're relating is totally different, and like it's just in your awareness more. And so they're asking us these questions to note that this whole world, this whole realm is it has almost like a gravity to it, where it can really, like, it can get really big, it can get really deep, it can be very energy consuming. It can almost like it can take a lot from us. It can take a lot of our energy and attention to devote ourselves to our own growth and evolution and healing. Again, I'm using that word like very, very loosely. And if that's the case, they're inviting us into, what else do you like to do with your time? Because in that place, like, if we get, really deep into, almost like mired, there's a potential for it to feel really taxing, where it's like all we're thinking about is personal growth and development, where maybe it was fun at one point and now it's like, it can feel like a burden, like, oh, I have all these things to fix about myself. That's what they're pointing at with these questions. Is it a hobby, or does it feel like a burden? Is it taking a lot out of you? Is it a little bit exhausting to constantly be, in this like meta awareness of like, what do I need to work on? How can I improve myself? Well, let me think about my thoughts. Let me think about my emotions. Let me feel my feelings. Let me be my being, whatever. It's like that's a lot of, it takes a lot of energy to be in that state of awareness, hyper awareness, broad awareness all the time. And when they ask us, what are your other hobbies? They're giving us permission to be a human being. That is flawed. That might have some things they want to improve about themselves. Might have some things that, they feel like could be better, whatever. And they do other things too. And so for folks, and this includes me, by the way, I'm not excluded from this. This obviously is something that I spend a lot of time thinking about. So yeah, just naming that too. They are talking to me as much as they might be talking to anyone else, who spends a lot of time thinking about these things. In my experience, it can be exhausting to think about, all of this stuff, and it's easy to slip. It's so subtle, but you can slip into this frame of reference of thinking about yourself as flawed, as like, okay, what's the next thing I'm working on? What's the next thing I'm learning? What's the next thing I'm fixing about myself? What's the next thing I'm healing? How can I go deeper into my healing? My healing is never done. That's a real thing that can happen. And when they say, what are your other hobbies? It's like, hey, my love, my dearest one, you can take a break from thinking about yourself in those terms, and inside the framework of what can be better about myself. When they're asking us, what are your other hobbies? They're saying, you can be as you are. You can think about something else for a while. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. You don't need to be fixed. And in this invitation, what are your other hobbies? Do you spend time doing other things? What they're inviting us into, again, it's like, it feels like permission. It feels like relief. It feels like really taking a break from the burden of thinking of yourself as one that could always be improved, and instead like being in like the like relaxed, like leisure, like recreational relief of, just being who you are and watching TV. Just being who you are and eating a sandwich. Being who you are and walking around the mall. But it's like, whatever it is, it's like, oh yeah, it's like we can forget when we're really, when it is a joy, when it is kind of fun, when it is like so fascinating to, introspect and learn about ourselves and want to improve and want to be our deepest, truest self, to want to do like deep deconditioning work. It's easy to forget that you are allowed to be a human being, and you're under no obligation to ever do any self-improvement work. It's easy to forget that this is a choice, that you don't have to. No one's making you do this. And what they're trying to offer us and like point to, right? It's like, oh, do you do other things? Do you spend, and it's really like, when they ask, yeah, do you have other hobbies? It's like, do you give yourself the gift of time to just be a human as you are? Flawed, imperfect, whatever. Yeah, whatever it is. Do you gift yourself that time to just be as you are, without seeing yourself through the lens of I could be doing this better. I wasn't perfect just then. I could have been more aware. I could have been, more regulated. I could have been whatever it is. Less reactive. So what they're really, the essence of this is, it's so beautiful if you have the desire or intention or even the motivation to want to be, the truest, most beautiful, healed, whole version of yourself. And the records see you as you are right now, as perfect. Through the record's eyes, you don't have to do anything to be worthy of love and a beautiful life. The universe loves you as you are. And when they are offering us this, what are your other hobbies? Do you spend any time not thinking about how you can be better? Really, the deeper, subtle invitation of that is like, do you spend any time being in the rich acceptance of yourself as you are? And so another question to contemplate is, if I never did any more self-improvement work ever again, if I never got any better as a person, whatever that means, better is in quotes, would I still be able to know that I am loved as I am? So that's where I'm going to leave you for today. And yeah, if this sparked something in you and you feel called to share, I'd love to hear your inspiration in the comments. You're welcome to share, what this inspired in you, if anything. And until next time, I'm wishing you well. Namaste.